Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another USA Technologies webinar. I am Adrian Austin, Product Marketing Manager here at USAT, and today we'll be focusing on whether it makes sense to upgrade our low volume machines to accept cashless payments. Thank you all for joining us. Before we get started, I want to provide some basic guidance for the webinar today. You'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a Go to Meeting questions box. Here you can list any questions you have for the speakers today. And at the end, we'll be going through a Q&A and taking time to answer as many of those questions as we can. But feel free to post questions there at any time. We'll collect them and answer them at the end. So today's webinar is being presented by Bunny Proof, our Director of Inside Sales here at USA Technologies, and Jim Turner, our Cashless Profitability Consultant. So on the next slide, I'm going to go ahead and give them a quick introduction. So if you've attended any of our webinars before, you've likely heard Bunny present. Bunny and the small and medium business sales team at USA Technologies specializes in helping customers make the most profitable decisions for their business. Bunny has almost 25 years in sales and analytics experience in technology-related fields and has gained a unique perspective for her prior positions, which have included night auditor, realtor, bartender, and large jar candle maker. Bunny, thanks for joining us for another webinar.
Thanks, Adrian.
So next up is Jim Turner. Jim was originally the VP of Development here at USAT. Jim has been the architect of our knowledge base of cashless trends and performance. He'll go over what that is a little bit later in the presentation. But over the last 10 years, Jim has helped grow our knowledge base from including data on a few thousand terminals to over 250,000 that we have today. While growing the knowledge base, Jim has had a front row seat to see what drove the growth in customer adoption for using cashless in the vending space. And this data has gone on to help us provide insights to our customers on understanding consumer demographics, market channels, products, and price points. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Looking forward to talking to you.
So next, I'm going to give a quick overview of what you all will be seeing today in the presentation. We will start by quickly going over exactly what we mean when we refer to a low volume machine. Then Bunny will jump into some of the challenges associated with these machines and why often these machines are frequently the last to see any upgrades. From there, Jim will dive into our findings from studying over 250,000 machines from our knowledge base and the conclusions that we've drawn from that study. After that, Bunny will dive deeper into what it takes to break even after installing cashless on a low volume machine. And at the end, we'll wrap up with a quick recap and then open the floor to some Q&A. So with that, I'll hand it over to Bunny for her to take it away.
Hi, everybody. I've probably spoken with a whole bunch of you over the years, and I thank you very much for joining us. Just wanted to discuss a bit about low volume machines. I know a lot of you have questions about them. I'm pretty sure you all have them. So let's first discuss here what is a low volume machine. A low volume machine is typically classified, you may have them in locations like really small businesses, some marginal locations where you don't think the audience makes sense, like a nursing home or an elementary school. But typically a low volume machine is taking in less than $60 cash per week. They are placed in these locations where you're just kind of like, maybe I have to contractually put a machine there, or maybe I'll get something out of it, but I'll just first try a machine and just not upgrade it with cashless. Model-wise, I think you all know, you're probably, if it's a chancy location or one that you are thinking it's not going to be awesome, you're probably putting your older machines in these locations. So maybe some of your APs, some of those old national machines, some of the old beverage machines. So typically you are using, and from our experience, we're hearing that you're putting in some of your non-MDB machines in these types of locations. Should you add cashless to them? If any of you have spoken with me before, yeah, I'm going to tell you yes, of course, because there's definite advantages to doing that. We understand that everybody has a reluctance in upgrading their machines. Generally, low sales volume, particularly as far as cash is concerned, it makes it difficult to actually make enough money to justify a cashless device investment. So typically, low volume machines, it makes it difficult. Psychologically, you're just kind of like, oh, why should I put one there? It means a low return on an investment in many cases. Machines are not compatible, and I know that that y'all know to upgrade certain kinds of machines, you're most likely, especially if it's not MDB compatible, you may have to consider upgrading the control board, the validator, the coin neck, and then install a cashless device. So that is another point of reluctancy among you. And other tasks take priority, like, you know, maybe hiring another part-time driver, or any other priority you have, maybe offering another product line, you name it, investing in somebody, you know, a new hire of some kind to take over another part of your business. So, you know, we understand that there's lots of roadblocks to installing a cashless device on a low volume machine. However, I think we're going to make the case here that it really does make sense to go ahead and do that. So why is it important? Cashless on any machine increases revenue. When machines are upgraded to cashless, we have typically seen historically that cash sales and cashless sales increase. Jim will talk more about this further in our discussion, but we know this because we have pre-cash or pre-install information. Typically, the lift is more significant. Now, by cashless lift, I mean when you install an ePort or a seed device on your machine, you are going to see more cashless sales than you would have thought. And the reasoning behind that is you had people walking away from that machine that you didn't, more people than you probably didn't realize. So it may be, and you'll see the data actually will reflect this. 30 to 40% of consumers at this point don't use cash, period. They just don't. Their age doesn't speak to it. Maybe they get paid by a direct deposit, so maybe they just do everything electronically. I'm what some of you may consider old, if you're a bunch of millennials listening out there. I'm almost 50, thank you very much, and I guarantee you I don't have cash in my pocket, okay? So you're missing out on my transaction because I'm a busy mom and I just don't have time to go to the bank anyway. So think about that. Who are your consumers? On low volume machines, the cashless lift is significant. My experience, here's a really good example. I had a gentleman who had taken 10 devices on our rental program, and he had installed 9, and he said, oh, I got one more. I have this, I don't think I'm going to install it there. It's probably not worth my time. And I said, well, what do you mean? Tell me about the location. He goes, I'm taking like $20 a week in cash in this machine. I'm thinking of taking it out of the location. Who are they? Well, the guys, they're a bunch of, you know, they have like pocket protectors, and, you know, they're dress shirts. They got, you know, glasses and stuff like that, and they're always on their phones. It's an engineering firm. So it turns out he had a cash machine on location. It was only doing $20 cash a week, but the lift was highly significant. I'm like, dude, that's your audience. Put that lift device there and see what happens. And sure enough, the lift was way more significant than his cash was ever even doing. So he was kind of missing his audience at that point. Additionally, when you install a cashless device on any of your machines, you can manage your machines more effectively, including managing your cash accountability, managing whether there are issues with that machine. So it's not just the cashless part of it, but you can actually be more proactive with managing your business and dealing with issues that may come up. So now we have the data to back this up with all the years that Jim has been working with us and compiling it. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jim, and he'll discuss what the data actually says.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Our knowledge base, we've actually been developing it for over 10 years now. It's really been behind a lot of the growth and adoption of cashless use. The industry, was originally very skeptical. We had to prove out that consumers, first of all, were going to use a credit card for a low value purchase, and then we had to prove how much they were going to use it. So we started with just a few thousand machines that we had out in the field, and today we actually have 250,000 machines that we're able to track the sales of. They're conventional machines, so they're food, beverage, snack, just like the ones you have. We know where they are. We know what products they're selling. We know what price points. We know demographics. So we're able to get some great information from these machines. And we've developed a number of different measures, but the one measure that was always missing was what was the actual lift that these machines were getting. Okay, we were really looking for a way to get to see this true growth in sales after we put a credit card reader on the machine. And then the problem was, or still is, that it's very often we don't have pre-data. A lot of operators just don't keep that type of granular data at the level that we need. So it's been very, very hard, if not pretty well impossible at times, to get good quality cash-only data before we put the device in. So a couple of years ago, we discovered a new way of looking at it, and that's demonstrated by this graph. What we do is we forget about the pre-data. We start tracking the machine the moment the cashless device is in, and we're obviously seeing both the cash and the credit card sales at that point. And we have a way where we can bring all of your machines back as though they all started the same day. So where we see month one on this chart, this is the first month that all those 250,000 machines started. Obviously, some started several years ago, some are fairly new deployments, but we bring everything back to the same start date. So the month one is the first 31 days of sales of that machine. And what we do is we say, okay, let's assume that there is no growth in sales in month one. In other words, we're assuming that whatever the cash sales were the month before deployment, we're going to have the same total sales in month one. All that's happened is that a portion of those sales have switched from cash to credit. So in other words, it's 100% swap, of those cash to credit transactions. Now, I think we all realize that there's going to be some growth in sales even month one, but to be very, very conservative, let's for the moment assume that there is no growth. And then what we do is we track the sales month by month by month as they go forward in time. And the first thing you'll see is that there is, particularly if we're looking at 250,000 machines here, is that there is steady growth every single month post-deployment. And even if we look beyond 18 months, we never see total sales flattening out either. Certainly not declining, and we're seeing that continued growth in sales, number one. Number two, if you look at the blue piece at the bottom, which is cash, versus the red at the top, both of them are growing. Cash, after month one, cash does not decline at all. In fact, cash grows a few percentage points as well. And we believe, talking to a lot of operators, we believe the reason that cash grows is that the whole machine benefits from having a live connection to it. Very, very simply, you can watch the sales and you can get some simple reports out of our system that tell you when, for example, when we're not getting a wireless signal from the machine or when there are no sales being recorded. And in a very simple way, that can say that there's something wrong with that machine. It's not necessarily to do with the cashless system. There is just something affecting sales that are stopping any sales on a particular day. And that type of very simple data begins to improve the overall operation for the benefit of both cash and credit. Now, given that we're not getting any decline in cash, the growth that we're seeing from month to month is true top-line sales growth. And if we look at the numbers, and remember again, this is 250,000 machines across the whole country, across small, medium, large operators, all traditional vending, so food, beverage, snack. And what we're seeing is that after 12 months, the total top-line sales growth is already 23%. And even that number is growing. When we did the study a year ago, it was like 20% growth, and that's 23%. These numbers are growing all the time. And then as we look out, if we look out 18 months, we're seeing top-line sales growth of 35%. And then if we plug in all today's sales for all those machines, again, you see another growth to 43% top-line sales growth. Tremendous numbers, and it's never declining. It's never flattening out. It's just continuing to grow. Now, of those 250,000 machines, it was almost by accident one day we discovered that this group of machines that we now call low volume machines selling less than $3,000 a year in total sales now, cash and credit. These machines, we took a look at the sales growth on these machines to see, how they were doing versus the total population. And what we discovered, as you say, if you look at these four groups, first of all, at the whole 250,000, they're growing 23% in the first 12 months, 35% over 18 months. Then if you look at the low volume machines, incredibly, machines doing less than $1,000 a year are growing over 100% after 18 months. After 18 months, it's nearly 200%. Then if you see machines doing between 1 and 2,000, those are growing nearly 60% after 18 months. But when we saw these numbers the first time, it was actually a NAMA show, and we had a chance to talk to a few of our larger operators who have seen our numbers over the years and are used to looking at it. And what they said was, yes, they could buy into this. A lot of these low volume machines are in, for example, small white collar offices. A bit like Bunny described, they're sitting in the corner. The consumers don't want to use cash to begin with. The machine is underserviced, overserviced. It's probably, if it's underserviced, it's going out of stock on items fairly frequently, and it may be some time before the next service cycle when the driver visits and then discovers that out of stock and fills up the machine. So what's actually happening, the general rule now is that the lower the volume of the machine, the higher the growth on these machines. Those same customers that we talked to then said to us, look, we can absolutely believe that we could get 100% growth on these machines with cashless, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to turn into a profitable machine. So what we said was, okay, it may not be profitable, but can you imagine the improvement that we're getting to the revenue on that machine? And again, as Bunny describes, many of these machines are there because they have to be. They're part of a contract, or they're part of, for example, beverage companies, beverage machines that tend to be lower volume anyway. They're in hotels where they're installed on every floor of a hotel building, and many of those floors have low volume. So they tend to be machines that either they have to be there, or we just leave them there because we've got that equipment anyway. You know, we may as well get whatever sales we're going to get off those machines. But can you imagine, you know, if we could basically double the sales volume and the incremental contribution to profit. It's not necessarily profitability, because we don't know if the machine has turned into profit at that point, but it's certainly contribution towards operating costs and contribution towards making a profit that we're getting from these low volume machines. Now, we can take a look at why this is happening. If you look at a couple of measures, cashless usage, that's the amount of card sales dollars as a percentage of total sales of the machine. And here you can see that over time, again, every single month, this cashless usage is growing. And it continues to grow month on month on month. And again, we're not seeing any flattening out of this. And this cashless usage is made up of existing consumers using it more, existing consumers buying more when they use a card versus cash. And of course, most importantly of all, it's brand new consumers. It's those small little white collar offices where half or more of the employees don't carry any cash anyway. They're not adverse to using vending. It's just that they don't have the means to pay. And if you provide that means, guess what? They start to pay. So we're seeing, you know, this tremendous lift, 38% increase in cashless usage over an 18-month period. And that's contributing, of course, substantially to this overall growth. And again, you know, we're not getting any cannibalization of cash. The other piece is that it's the golden rule of cashless, that consumers will always spend more when they use a card versus cash. It's true in a big box store. It's true in a McDonald's. That's why they went for it. And they got tremendous growth, you know, when people use a card. And it's just as true in vending. And if we look into that, there's two reasons for this to happen. One is multi-vending. What happens is that consumers, particularly in certain channels, if it's easy, they will buy more than one item. They'll buy a beverage for a friend or a co-worker. And the other thing is that we've been trying to do for years, of course, is increase vend prices or sell more expensive items. And what we've discovered is it's not so much that consumers don't want to buy more expensive items, it's the fact that they probably don't have the means to easily pay for it. If you put a card in, they will start to be more selective. They'll buy better products, they'll buy more items, and together you see this 40% increase in total sales. The average transaction of a consumer every time they go to that machine. So what you've got the existing consumers spending more, and you've got new consumers coming on stream, and together the contribution to this tremendous growth. And it's particularly affecting these low volume machines. So we've been working with operators over this 2-year period, and most of the very large to medium-sized operators have recognized this, either from our data or from their own. And virtually everybody has gone to 100% deployment based on what they've discovered. Finally, I think over to you to look at the break even.
Hey, Barney, you might still be on mute, just in case you might have selected something on your phone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. So you guys are a hardy bunch out there. I also know that most of you are going to call after this webinar, and you're going to talk to your salesperson or to me and say, all right, you made the case. How much is it going to cost me? How much is an ePort? An ePort retails for $289. Monthly service fee, $7.95 a month for a purchased device. So cost-wise, you take that $795 a month, times that by 12, add it, and you get $384 yearly. All right. When you calculate that and you divide that up by day, that means $1.07 a day is basically your costs in getting an e-port on machine. That's equivalent to selling one additional item in the machine. So when you take a look at deploying a unit, and we've talked about cost, we've talked about location, multi-vending, upgrading machines, the break-even is more than just, the break-even analysis is more than just buying an e-port. The cashless is extremely important. You are making money, but there's also additional benefits to deploying these units. There is enabling technology, optimizing your scheduling, not going to the machine as often as if you need to, if that machine is already well taken care of, or going to it when you have issues. You could enable something like our Cashless Plus or C Pro in Office, which would connect you to your devices remotely so that you could accurately bring what you need to the machine, nothing more, nothing less, make it as seamless as possible. And then also putting in Cashless will enable some easier reporting for you. That reporting will effectively be able to assist you in managing your day-to-day. I can't tell you how many times you guys call and say, hey, I'm doing my quarterly taxes. Can you run me a sales roll-up report? So that's at your fingertips. So there's definitely, when you're talking about installing on low-volume machines, installing cashless, there's more benefits than just the cashless install to managing those machines. So I'm going to turn this back over to Adrian to recap what we've discussed.
Thanks, Bunny. So yeah, thank you again for Bunny and Jim for going through a great presentation today. Just to recap what we've said before, operators often place cashless on low volume machines because they think the return on investment is too slow, or it's not the biggest priority, or the machines might not be compatible for the variety of reasons that we talked through. But really what the data shows is that low volume machines can actually see more of an increase when putting cashless on than high volume machines. We see up to 86% in revenue increase after 18 months and a 292 increase in annual net profit, not revenue, but net profit after that 18 months. Not only that, but taking your machines online with cashless also has benefits outside of just the direct revenue increase. It will also help you improve your scheduling, your inventory manage, and of course your machine reporting. And that's the end of our regular presentation. Thank you guys all very much for joining. We have one more thing that we'd like to tell you guys about. So one thing that we didn't cover during our presentation was really how to deal with machines that currently have universal control boards that are not compatible with existing cashless devices. So to address this, we at USAT want to create one kit for you to make it easier for you to upgrade and at the same time provide you with a discounted price. So for this reason, USA Technologies is partnering with Vendors Exchange to leverage their universal control boards for an exclusive promo. Starting today and until the end of the year, you can receive up to 20% off of a bundle off of the ePort G10 and the Vendors Exchange UCB available with and without the drop sensors. Your sales representative can help provide you with the specific pricing details, but we really wanted to give you, the operators, an easy path to upgrade your machines to cashless, at the same time give you a bit of a price break as well. So again, if you have any more questions on this, please address it to your sales representative. They have all the information that can help you out there. So from there, we're going to be going on to our Q&A. So let me fire up what some of the questions that you guys answered or requested from us during the presentation. So first off, which is a good question, when does it not make sense to upgrade a machine with cashless? So Bunny, this might be good for you.
When you take a look at your overall costs, and you've really done the work to determine who your audience is, who's using your machine, what's their age demographic, how are they paying at the machine, are people walking away from your machine? So if you've done those analytics, and you have, say, a machine that's totally non-MDB, our numbers reflect on low-performing machines. Our numbers actually show those machines are taking less than $60 cash. I would say if it's not taking much more than $20 cash a week, unless it's in that special group of people, I'd caution you on those. You could try it, and that's the thing that I think. That's why we see the kind of sales lift we do on those low-performing machines, though, is that maybe you're just not cognizant of the people that are using your machine. So we have enough purchase options, rental options, lease options now where you could try one, try it on a location. If it doesn't work, you move it to another location. You may have already been considering moving the machine out anyway. So what have you got to lose at that point? Maybe you'll capture more revenue than you thought. I would say, once you're getting into the seriously low volume, Jim, does that sound about right? Like below $20.
Yeah, I would add one piece to it though. We briefly mentioned the fact that this connection to the machine for cashless also brings you the ability to add a vending management system and delivery optimization tools as well. You've already got the wireless connection. You can already transfer the DEX file across, and you can simply configure a VMS system to start taking that data. If you're in the business, either today or in the future, of going for one of these systems, then the savings that you get on the operational side of the business for these low machines is roughly the same financial benefit that cashless is bringing you. So in other words, the numbers that we've been showing you, you can virtually double that in terms of, cashless is bringing you top line growth. The vending management side of it is bringing you bottom line savings. And as I say, very, very roughly, the dollars are at least equivalent, on both sides of it. And then it makes absolute sense to address your low volume, very, very low volume machines as well, if you have to have them out there. Simply because you can imagine on the operational side, it's possible to simply cut the deliveries to those machines in half. If you've got a good VMS system that's tracking the sales in those machines. Bunny?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Jim.
Great answers, guys. So Jim, question for you. How did we get all the percentages on the high and low volume machines?
You mean how do we actually get the numbers from the data, you mean?
I think that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. What we do is the cashless system, as part of the cashless reporting that's automatically there, you will get the sales of both the cashless and the cash. In fact, all types of transactions. So when you see our reporting that comes automatically with our system, every type of transaction is separated out. So you see magstripe transactions. You even see contactless transactions coming out separately. You see stored value cards listed separately, and you see cash. So you see each one of those, and so that data we're able to extract from the machines, and it gives you the amount of cash, the amount of credit, the number of transactions, the number of vends. With all that data, that's where our knowledge base comes from, and all the numbers and the percentages and the growth numbers. It's all thanks to the quality of data that we have as a result of having that system.
Great, thanks, Jim. So another question coming up. So what happens to cash sales when I enable cashless? I think Jimmy touched on it a little bit, but the question is, how do we know that it won't be cannibalized once we install cashless?
Yeah, so again, all that data coming in, what we're able to do with some special processing of that data is to show that month-on-month analysis. So we can see the cash and the credit sales every month post-deployment. And remember that graph I showed you, what we're very typically seeing over about a 12-month period is that cash will actually grow a couple of percentage points. 2, 3, 4% growth in cash sales as well as credit. I'll give you an example. Remember I said that consumers will buy more expensive items. So we're now able to put more of those more expensive items in the vending machine because it's now worthwhile because people are going to buy them with a card. Well, a few cash buyers will also buy them. So what I'm saying is that everything benefits from having cashless in the machine. Your products that you're selling improve. You're selling better products, more expensive products. And also you're able to improve the operational side. Without a fancy VMS system, you're still able to run a simple health report. And from that, if you wish, every day you can see that the machine itself is actually open for business. And you'll also see when the sales drop off, maybe due to out of stock conditions. So from all that data, that's where we can absolutely see that after month 1, you will not see any more the cannibalization of cash. You will in month 1. In month 1, certainly some of your consumers will have always wanted to use a card and never could, and they'll switch over. But after month 1.
On the plus side, Jim, I mean, even if they, and everybody should keep this in mind, if you do cannibalize some sales from cash to cashless, they will always spend more money. Always. I mean, why wouldn't you? You're no longer capped by what's in your pocket. You could spend more, you could buy multiple items, and we've proven that time and time again that multi-vending makes money. You end up being able to sell higher ticket items, right, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned McDonald's. I don't know what the latest numbers are, but when they introduce cards, people that use a card will actually spend, I think their number was 40% more. They'll go for the larger, larger sizes, and like us, they'll buy multiple items and they'll go for larger items. They'll upsize, and that's why all the fast food guys went for cards in a big way once they discovered that fact.
Great answers, guys. Another question coming in, and I think I know the answer to this, is do you ever put cashless on a coffee machine? I know the answer is yes, because we have one installed on our break room coffee machine, but here at USAT. But Bunny, do you want to elaborate any more off that question?
No question about it. Absolutely. I'm a cashless user. I've been a cashless user since I graduated from school. I'm still not going to be able to buy your coffee if you don't have a card reader on it. And I drink coffee. Believe me, I drink coffee. So again, think about your audience. I know in the past people have marginalized the coffee machine because the sale price was lower. It was usually below $1. But in the world of premium coffees, your consumers are looking for a better product. Therefore, they're willing to spend the money for it. So yes, I already go out when my kid wants me to get Starbucks. We'll go ahead to Starbucks, and how much am I spending for that fancy drink? $3, $4, $5? If I'm swiping a card at a vending machine to get a coffee, there's already that perception that I'm going to spend a couple bucks.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
Yeah, and to add to it as well, Bunny, what we did discover that's very important, the very first deployments we did were just on the beverage machines. Before we ever got involved with the full line operators and the snack and the food side. And it wasn't until we started adding cashless to the other machines that we saw the big jump. And what we discovered is that consumers want to buy their complete meal with their preferred payment method. They don't want to have to buy a coffee or even a low cost snack item with cash and then buy the other items with a card. You have to support their total payment system. One other thing I want to mention at this point, food machines, I know for many people are a loss leader, if that's the right description. They struggle to make a profit on many of these food machines. What we found is that the food machines actually get the greatest increase of all types of machines. If we compare snack, beverage, food gets the highest lift. And it's because of another golden rule of cashless, and that is that the higher the vend price, the more people will use cashless. And of course, the highest vend price is food items. And again, it's an example that it's not that the consumer didn't want to buy those food items, it's that they didn't want to buy them with coin, which is inconvenient, particularly once you go over a buck. If you provide a convenient method to pay, bingo, it all takes off.
Right. And I think that sounds like a great stopping point. We went a little bit over the time today, guys. A lot of great stuff to talk about. So maybe more of a 45-minute webinar instead of 30. But again, big thank you to Bunny and Jim. Thank you guys for jumping on and presenting today.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Yes, nice speaking to you all.
And to everyone still on the line, we will be sending out a recording over the emails to you guys in the next day or two. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're interested, please shoot us any more questions that you have. For the questions that we didn't have time to get to today, don't worry. We'll reach out to you guys over email and answer those hopefully today. Anyway, thanks again, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.